Under the dim glow of a flickering street lamp in a crowded Manila alley, 12-year-old Nico stood barefoot on the cracked pavement. His voice, thin but soulful, floated above the honking traffic and chatter of the night. A battered guitar, borrowed from a kind old vendor, hung from his small shoulders. A cardboard box sat at his feet with scribbled letters, Para sa pagkain. Salamat pa. For food. Thank you. Each night, Nico sang to survive. His lullabies were for strangers, not siblings, and his audience was whoever passed by. But that night felt different. His tita had secretly submitted a video of him singing online, and against all odds, he'd been invited to audition for a talent show. On the day of the audition, Nico stepped onto the massive stage. The lights blinded him. He wore the same clothes he'd performed in on the street, no shoes, no frills, just raw hope. The judges looked at him, puzzled by his appearance, until he gently strummed the first chords of Hotel California. His voice trembled at first, then grew stronger, aching, textured, and hauntingly real. The audience grew still. His pain, his dreams, his hunger, his nights under open skies, all poured into the lyrics. As he reached the iconic final chorus, even the most stoic judge, the one known for never showing emotion, wiped away a tear. Silence fell. Then, suddenly, bang! The golden buzzer rang out, sending a shower of golden confetti over Nico. He froze, overwhelmed. Then dropped to his knees, crying uncontrollably. Backstage, the host whispered, "You've just changed your life, kid." From a sidewalk performer to a national sensation, Nico's journey had only just begun, but for the first time, he sang not for coins, but for a dream. Would you like a visual storyboard or script for this too? Elmer, 14, stepped onto the massive stage with wide, nervous eyes. He wore a faded, too-big shirt, his only one, and clutched a worn, crumpled photograph of a man smiling beside a young boy. It was his father, the man who had taught him to sing beneath the stars, back when life was simpler. "My papa used to sing Hotel California while fixing his fishing nets," Elmer whispered into the mic. "He said music makes the heart float when life gets too heavy. I lost him 2 years ago, during the typhoon." The crowd went quiet. Even the judges leaned in. He raised the mic again, took a shaky breath, and began to sing. The first note was soft, almost hesitant, but it carried something ancient, something broken and beautiful. His voice was not polished, but real, etched with longing. As the chords of Hotel California echoed through the arena, the audience sat frozen. Elmer wasn't just singing a song. He was summoning a memory. With each verse, you could feel the wind, the rain, the grief of a boy calling out to a father he would never see again. When he reached the final lines, his voice cracked, and not from nerves. It cracked like something inside him gave way, and the silence that followed felt holy. One of the judges, an industry legend known for harsh critiques, stood up. Her face was streaked with tears. She didn't speak. She simply reached forward and slammed the golden buzzer with trembling hands. Golden confetti rained down as Elmer looked around, stunned. His photo still clutched tight, he dropped to his knees, eyes wide with disbelief. "Papa," he whispered to the sky, "we made it." And in that moment, the whole world believed him. Would you like this adapted into a screenplay or narrated video script? Boyet stood center stage, small and uncertain, gripping a weathered guitar. 2 of its strings were missing, the wood chipped and stained from years of use. It had been his father's, once played for joy, now kept for survival. The judges exchanged uncertain glances, but Boyet didn't flinch. He simply bowed, then sat on the edge of the stage, guitar in his lap like an old friend. Backstage, his mother stood clutching her rosary, her lips murmuring silent prayers. She had sold vegetables for days just to afford the bus ride to the audition. As Boyet strummed the few working strings, the first haunting notes of Hotel California floated out, not polished, but raw. Each chord carried struggle. Each lyric trembled with truth. His voice wavered at times, but there was something honest, almost too honest to ignore. You didn't just hear the song, you felt it. The crowd leaned in, caught in the stillness. By the time he reached the final chorus, a heavy silence hung in the room. No background chatter. No whispers. Just a boy with a broken guitar, singing from the depths of everything he'd lost. When the last note faded, the audience rose to their feet in a wave of stunned awe. A standing ovation thundered around him. A judge leaned into her mic, voice shaking. He just sang the pain of 1,000 broken homes. And then, with no hesitation, her hand came down hard on the golden buzzer. Gold confetti burst into the air. Boyet stared in disbelief, frozen. Tears fell silently from his mother backstage, her hands over her mouth. That night, the boy with the broken guitar gave the world something whole, something unforgettable. And for the first time, he smiled not from relief, but from pride. June, 13, had never been to a big city. He grew up in a remote village where the sun beat down on endless rice fields, and where music came from radios powered by car batteries. Each morning, barefoot and quiet, June helped his grandfather plant rice before school. At night, he'd lie under the stars, singing softly to himself, the only audience the wind and moon. When his barangay captain secretly submitted a recording of June singing Hotel California, no one expected a response. But weeks later, a letter came, "You've been invited to Manila for the National Talent Search." June had never seen a real microphone before. He stared at it in awe as he walked onto the stage, his jeans too short and his slippers worn thin. The crowd was massive. The lights were blinding. But June closed his eyes, placed his hands on his heart, and began to sing. What came out wasn't just a voice, it was something far older than his years, weathered by sun and soil and silent dreams. His accent shaped each lyric with authenticity, and every note carried the scent of the fields he came from. The arena fell still. No whispers. No movement. Just June and the song. One judge, known for her poise, suddenly covered her mouth, tears brimming. She clutched her chest and whispered to the others, "That boy is the song." And then, with trembling fingers, she slammed the golden buzzer. Confetti rained from above. June opened his eyes, startled, then smiled, a small, quiet smile that said, "Maybe dreams do grow, even in muddy fields." From a place where few leave, June had flown to the capital. And with one song, reminded the nation of the soul that lives in simplicity. Leo, 11, lived in a jeepney parked on the edge of a busy Manila street. What once carried passengers now held his whole world, torn tarps for windows, blankets for curtains, and the only real joy, his little sister, Maya. Every night, as cars roared by and sirens echoed in the distance, Leo would cradle her in his arms and softly sing her to sleep. Their mother worked late selling street food. Their father had disappeared long ago. But Leo's voice became a shield, a warm, gentle lullaby that kept the fear away, if only for a while. When a talent scout passed by one evening and heard him singing, he stopped and asked, "Who taught you that?" Leo just shrugged. "I sing for my sister. So she's not scared." Weeks later, Leo stood on a national stage, trembling. The crowd was huge. Cameras flashed. He gripped the mic and whispered, "This is for her," pointing to Maya in the wings, her tiny face peeking out, wide-eyed and proud. Then he began to sing Hotel California. But it wasn't the version people knew. It was soft, slow, fragile. Like a lullaby sung beside a sleeping child. His voice cracked, then soared. Every word carried the ache of sleepless nights, of quiet bravery, of love without comfort. When he finished, the silence was heavy. Then, as if released from a spell, the audience stood. One judge, visibly shaken, stood up, eyes red, and slammed the golden buzzer. Bang! Golden confetti exploded into the air. Leo gasped, spinning around, overwhelmed. Maya ran onto the stage and threw her arms around him. In that moment, under falling gold, the boy who once sang to silence the world's noise had made it listen, and weep.